So I'm trying my best here to get a shot of the inside of this gas tank. Not doing so well here, but suffice to say it's rough. There's a bunch of crud in it. So let's see if I can rinse that out. Just start with the sprayer on the garden hose and get it dried out real good, and follow it up with vinegar and some nuts and bolts, maybe clean all that crud out of there. So I rinsed out a ton of crap and dried it out with air, compressed air, best I could. Just gonna dump a gallon of household white vinegar in there and let it eat away at some of the crud in there. Hopefully that'll rinse it out. I don't really know what to expect out of this. I never tried it, but it sounds like it ought to work, huh? That. Oops. Had a petcock open. That was dumb. And while we're at the party, let's throw in a bunch of nuts, shake around and scrape out some of the gunk mechanically. Alrighty then, and then the rest of this operation kind of looks a lot like for as long as I can stand to do it. So I'll spare you the excitement of watching that. Let it soak about half the day in vinegar and rattle the nuts around in there for quite some time. And then I got tired, so I stopped. Let's drain it out and see what comes out. Let's see what it looks like inside. The screen is stuck. Nice. Yummy. Show you what I got out of there. It's still pretty dirty in the tank, but it's improving. That's what came out. This slurry. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but yeah. So, more of that in its future, I think. It's there's an improvement happening. This is really hard to show you, but you can kind of see. It's really hard to get the camera to see in there, but you can see clean metal down in there now. You know, that spine in the middle is still funky, but down there where all that old gas was sitting and the vinegar and nuts have been working, that's starting to look pretty good. It needs a lot more rinsing, and I'm going to want to run some filters just to make sure it all gets caught and not... Yeah, sorry, this isn't working very well, but hey, I think a little more of that, some rinse, and rinse it out with distilled water to keep it from rusting anymore, and get some gas in it. I can fire this thing up. Kind of wish I'd counted how many I threw in there. It was a lot. This could take some time. You may be screaming at me, asking why I don't just turn it upside down and shake it. Well, the filler neck has a tube down here to keep gas from sloshing up and out, and it is about that deep past the filler neck, about 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 inches. So I turn it upside down, all the nuts just run into the side of that thing, and I can't get them to jump up over it and bounce down the hole. One of those things you don't think about when you try something that sounds like a good idea. All right, now they're all out. Rinse a little more. Here's the one of the old petcocks out of there. The screen on it just disintegrated. This is an original style. I think this is the one that came with the bike, so it's time to replace it, whether it still works or not. And all the filter screen is gone anyway, so order another one of those. The other one seems okay. It cleaned up nicely. Seems to still work, but I'll have to run this one for now. Distilled water to dilute the tap water and stop it from reacting with the bare metal that's in there now that it's cleaned up. About that. I was using the compressed air down the filler to just keep air circulating in there and try and displace all that moisture, and then I saw the shop vac sitting there and I tried the nozzle fit on the filler neck and it's real close, so strung it up there, turned that on. I'm just going to walk away and let that run for about an hour. It's pulling vacuum instead of blowing air through it, but it's pulling it up through the petcocks and circulating it through the tank. I think it's gonna work. So that's how the oil pan comes off. It left the gasket behind. It looks like it's coming off really nicely though. May not have to scrape. I need a lift. There. Well, didn't come off in one piece, but just a few easy pieces. That's good. And get my hands off and I'll show you the oil pan. There, now that the pan is off, I can put a new sealing washer on the drain plug and thread it back in. Clean all this out. It's got old sludge in the bottom. It's got to get cleaned out. So I guess it's I've always bitched and moaned about having to pull this pan to change the oil filter, an item that you're supposed to replace every couple thousand miles or so, and often I just do every other oil change, or replace filter every other oil change. But you know, maybe they knew what they were doing. It does get you to take this pan off and scrape the goo out of the inside of it, which is it's a better cleaning than your car gets ever. I don't know, it's not so bad really. Just a bunch of bolts to take loose and torque back up, and of course mail over to the filter, because nobody in town ever has anything like that. I think it's probably out of a Fiat truck or something like that. I've never bothered to try and cross-reference it. Anyway, clean all this up with some degreaser or kerosene or something. Ugh. So yeah, gasket was leaking too. Yeah, off to work. Alright, got a tri-filter rich. Go, just like a car. There's probably some kind of Fram equivalent for some weird Italian car or truck or something. It's a little tiny thing, but I mean, it's not that tiny. The one on my Toyota is not much bigger than that. It's a little gunky. I don't think I'm going to go too crazy with cleaning this out. I'm just going to put more oil back in it. So as long as majority of the dirt's out, I think I'm going to be happy. Sealing surface where that filter goes. Make sure there's nothing, I don't know, bolts or washers or something in this screen. Nothing too heinous in there. I was pleased to see that when I drained the oil yesterday, a gallon of water did not come out. It just looked like dirty oil. It didn't look like there was a whole bunch of moisture collected in there. We'll clean this underside because that's just nasty. Take it out in the yard for that. I'm going to clean up these, get out of the light there. Clean up these air filters, and put those on and plumb the fuel lines and install the tank. Both these petcocks are pretty much shot. One doesn't really work at all anymore. The other one only works in the on mode. Reserve is out, but you know, it'll be enough to get it started. I'm gonna do these first before I put those on. I want them on before I route the fuel lines because it's pretty tight back there. Okay, almost out of time here. My battery's dying. Pan is cleaned up. I got a new gasket. Let's get a little clean oil. Wet the O-ring there, a little on the threads. Put that sucker on. That's good enough. And we'll put the pan back on. I don't want to leave the underbelly exposed out here on the dirt floor for too long, so stick this back on right quick. Hey there. It's about 11 p.m. and I thought I'd come out, torque the oil pan bolts back up, plumb the fuel lines, put the tank on, and hear this thing run tonight. But small setback. I don't know how small it is actually, but it's a pain in the ass for sure. Let me show you what we got. Oil pan has a couple of bolts up front here and another couple of bolts back here. Right, you see this one's missing. It was missing when I took the oil pan off, and one of these front ones was too, this far one. And I went to the hardware store, got some replacements, and now I know why they're missing. And I guess I forgot all about this. Was actually that one tightened down. There's this one. I'll have to check that out. But anyway, this one back here for sure, I think one of these front ones too, doesn't have any threads in the hole anymore. So the bolt just goes in there and freewheels. There's just nothing for it to bite on. I can slip this just like straight up in there and Just run it around and around and around, and it'll just keep going. It'll never snug up, and it'll just fall straight out again. So yeah, like that. So I was thinking one of those was, oh yeah, there it goes. Yeah, and it just spins around in there. Alright, so I got 2 stripped out holes in the engine block. So I need to take this oil pan off again if I'm going to do something about it, which is no big deal. I haven't put oil in there yet, which is why this is the time to do this. Sorry, I'm sitting back up here. So I went through my toolbox and I found a thread repair, some thread repair springs. I don't know if you ever used these before, but they've been around forever. Helicoil is the brand everyone knows and fears. But what you do is, if you've never used one of these before, you drill the stripped out hole out a little bigger, and then you tap it with new threads, bigger threads, to accommodate one of these, and you screw one of these up in there, and then that gives you new threads the same size as your original bolt. So your bolt now has new purchase in that hole. And these just happen to be M6 by 1, and that's exactly what these oil pan bolts are. I probably have this because I've had to do this before, but it's been years. So read the directions. Drill size 1/4 inch. Thank you very much, fellas, that's very helpful. What size tap do I need to cut new threads? Doesn't say at all. Bastards. So I'm gonna have to go back in the house and try to find some kind of chart or something, or I don't know, find some kind of resource that'll tell me what size tap I need to cut these new threads. I could guess. I could probably try on some scrap pieces, on some plywood or a piece of aluminum or something, and see if I can get it right by guessing and just test fit. Then I got to pull, once I sort out the logistics of it, or the process, I got to pull this oil pan off again, which is easy. And then I got to figure out how to get a drill up in there with the ground being right here. That's not much room to work. I don't know if my drill plus the length of the drill bit is, well, I'm sure it's not going to fit in that space. So and what do? Lay the bike on its side so you can work on it? It's not a lot of room. I think, though, I have a right angle drill. It's an air-powered right angle drill. And if I still do in my box in there, then at least that solves that problem. It'll sit right about there and just drill straight up at a right angle. Hope I do have that thing, because I don't know what I'm going to do to get under there if that's not the case. What a drag. I'm just gonna, I don't know if I'm gonna get through this tonight. I'm just gonna drink some beer and try and figure out what to do about these things. Or maybe I need to go get a set that includes the right tap and drill bit. Had a heck of a time trying to find a 1/4 inch drill bit around here. you would think, oh yeah, 1/4-inch drill bit, you can just pick one of those up anywhere. They're probably laying out in the street everywhere you turn. I've got 27 64ths. I've got 13 32nds. I've got 25 64ths. I've got 15 32nds. I've got all kinds of bizarre drill bits in that drawer in there, and no 1/4-inch drill bits anywhere. I did find this one. I did find this one out of the mandrel of a 3.5-inch hole saw that I just bought for the bathroom project, replacing the shower fixtures. So I needed a 3.5-inch hole saw, and it seems to be a 1/4-inch drill bit from the mandrel of that thing. Of all the dumb things to be held up by and foiled by, you don't have a 1/4-inch drill bit. It's crazy. Feeling kind of low right now. Alright, so let me see about this and check back in with you later. Hey there. It's a new day. I have a better attitude about this. This is the underside of the engine. Oil pan is removed, and here are the holes we're talking about. You can even see, I think you can see that there is just an absence of threads as opposed to that one. Right, so I broke down, emptied my wallet, and got a proper thread repair kit with the appropriate tap and insert tool and all. And I get this thing apart, and I've made an important discovery. There's the other set of holes. This is the one with the threads gone out of it. But what I figured out as I was taking it apart is these bolts kind of sit flush with the bottom of the pan, or with the bottom of these fins rather, and that's how high above the pan they go. And that does not look like a lot of threads biting into these holes, so no wonder they stripped the holes out. I mean, look at that. It's like 3, 4 threads, maybe 5. And the pan is sitting flush, so that, I mean, that's just it. That's all you get. Going through the bottom of the oil pan up into these holes. So I took a tap and just ran it in there to chase out the gunk, and there's usable threads way up into that hole, almost to, well, to about right there, I'd say, on this tap. You can go quite a ways up there, so there's lots of threads. I just need longer bolts, and that is probably the reason they got the threads got pulled out in the first place, trying to torque them down with only you know, that much thread in them. So you know, I could go ahead and drill them out and put the helicoils in, but I think I'm going to continue to have problems with these if I don't do this right. So I need some longer bolts. I'm going to go into town and see if I can find some that are yay much longer, 5 or 10. I'm going to shoot for 10 millimeters longer, or 5, maybe both, 5 and 10, and just see what works better. But there's a problem. So off to town, back in a bit. Deal. The longest hex cap screws I could find are 50 millimeters, which is what I started with. I figure I need at least 60. There's a 55, and that is not a big enough difference. I think these are 60, which is more like it. I think that'll get me plenty of thread. However, yeah, and I did find some hex cap 60 millimeter bolts, but oh wait, that's 50. Oh man, did I pick up the wrong things? Crap. What have I done here? Alright, there's some 60s. And one was in the wrong. Yeah. Careless stocking. Alright, well there's 3. So, what I don't know is if the oil pan has enough space to accommodate one of these. Let's see. Yeah, I think it will. Maybe the 55 would be better. Let me try that. That might be what I want to do. Let me see if that'll torque down. Yeah, I think that'll work. There's just enough room to get a 10mm socket up there and snug it all the way down so I can use my torque wrench and not screw that up. And I've got, that's the 60mm bolt, and I've got, I'm going to get rid of these Phillips head machine screws, don't need them. What I got here, I got a 50, I got one odd one, I got some 55s, oops, one 50 that doesn't belong in there. Alright, I think I'll just use these all the way around the bottom. These other holes that have workable threads left in them, I think I'll use the shorter ones in. They're still 5mm longer than the ones that are apparently too short. This is gonna work. Yay! I gotta look up the torque specs for these oil pan bolts and get it right. Well, my book does not have specs for oil pan bolts specifically, but I do have a photocopied page in my book that I don't remember putting in there, but it just gives general torque specs for 6, 8, and 10mm screws. These are 6, and it says from 4.5 to 8 foot-pounds. My torque wrench here goes down to 5, so I think I'm going to start there. Let's just do 5 foot-pounds all the way around and see what we get. I already did the ones that I'm replacing because the threads were missing, and they snugged up nicely, so now I'm just going to go around in a crisscross pattern, get the rest of them, snug them up to 5, go back, check them again, and call that good. I can put some oil in this thing. I've got the gas lines, the fuel lines plumbed up yesterday, and I don't have enough hose clamps to seal them all up, but it's new fuel line on barbed fittings. In theory, it shouldn't leak. But once I get this pan on, I'll be able to put some oil in this thing and some gas, and maybe she'll start. Well, here we go. Get some gas in here, check for fuel leaks right quick, which is really important. If I have any leaks, I don't want to do this, but at least not any really bad leaks. Ideally, we should have none. I need some hose clamps on these lines, though. And if I have to make any predictions, I predict it will start. I don't expect it to idle because the idle mixture screws are not really set. They're just kind of where they were when we started. The slide stops are not set at all. They're just stuck in there any old way. So may have to just keep it, just feather the throttle to keep it running. But I do think it'll start. Fuel supply on this side. Yeah, it leaks pretty badly without clamps on these filters. This side looks alright though. Well, not ideal. Clearly I need some hose clamps back around this side because it, I guess, is the angle at which this line is plumbed, but you know, the bowls are full. I'll shut the fuel supply off. Let's see what it does. Choke's on. Kill switch on. Ignition. That's what I wanted to hear. It idled really high at first because the choke plungers were up. It's getting a lot of fuel. And then when I turned those off, it came down and tried to die because it's just not getting any air through the slides at idle. Almost there.